The deep hum of the communications array echoed through the silent command chamber aboard the Artemis. Lieutenant Mark Hawley leaned forward, eyes locked on the blinking red icon at the edge of the star map. He glanced at Captain Lena Reyes, whose calm expression did little to hide the tension in her shoulders. "Captain," Mark said, voice low, "we're picking up a distress beacon. It's weak, but it's definitely an SOS." Lena's eyes narrowed. She tapped a sequence on her wrist console and rotated the holomap toward him. A tiny red dot hovered just beyond the rim territories, a region known for savage worlds and abandoned outposts. Where exactly? Mark adjusted the scale. Planet. Arvos 9. A Class 4 world heavy gravity, toxic atmosphere. The colony there was declared lost 10 years ago. Behind them, engineer Tariq Singh frowned from his station. Arvos 9? That place was a death trap. We sent evac ships in 45, but never got a reply. We logged it as Mia and moved on. A tense silence fell. Lena pressed her lips together, considering. The Artemis was on a routine survey mission, hardly a rescue vessel. Yet the SOS flickered again, stronger now, as if begging for help. "Patch it through on all channels," Lena ordered. "Open a secure link." Mark nodded and typed rapidly. The red icon pulsed faster. Then a raspy voice burst through the speakers, distorted by interference. "This is Dr. Harlan Warren. Colony survivors need immediate evac. Hostiles incoming." "Cannot hold." The line went dead. Static hissed. Tariq slammed a fist on his console. Hostiles on Arvos 9. That world was crawling with mercs and raiders. Nobody survived. Mark exchanged a look with Lena. Could be the raiders found them, or worse. Lena rose from her seat. She strode to the viewport, where the blackness of space spread vast and silent. "Earth will not ignore a call for help," she said quietly. "Not this time." Below them, life support vents hissed. A small group of passengers waited in the brig refugees from border skirmishes. None of them expected to board a warship on a mercy mission. But Earth had given permission. The Artemis must attempt a rescue, even if the odds were slim. Lena turned back. "Mark, set a course for Arvos 9. Full burn. Tariq, prep environmental gear and surface drones. We don't know what we'll find, but we going fast." "Aye, Captain," they answered together. As the engines roared to life, Lena returned to her chair. She studied the crew. Mark, earnest and proud. Tariq, perceptive and stubborn. Communications officer Juno Park, fingers dancing over her panel, trying to stabilize the distress signal. Each of them understood the risk. Class 4 worlds ate ships alive, crushing gravity, corrosive air, violent storms. Sending a rescue party would be madness unless the message truly came from survivors. Moments later, the Artemis entered an accelerated burn. Outside, stars stretched into lines of light. Lena closed her eyes for a breath. Memories of her years in the fleet flashed through her mind missions abandoned because the price was too high. But this was different. A human voice, trapped and afraid, had reached out across the void. Earth would not stand by. "Bridge to Earth Command," Lena announced into the comms panel. "We have confirmation of an active SOS from Arvos 9, engaging rescue protocol, requesting priority clearance." A calm female voice replied, stiff. "With protocol. Permission granted, Captain Reyes. But be advised, Earth has also dispatched Strike Group Omega. If hostiles interfere, you may engage with extreme force." Lena's jaw tightened. Understood. She cut the channel and faced the crew. "They want us to go in soft. But if they send reinforcements before we arrive, well, we'll answer hellfire with hellfire." Juno looked up. "Sir, the signal." Just strengthened. "It's almost clear now." Mark tapped a few keys and brought the holomap forward. A jagged red beam shot from Arvos 9's surface, piercing the void like a flare. Within it, Juno isolated a voice pattern, a woman's voice, calm even as she begged for help. "This is Dr. Morin," she repeated. "Please hurry." Tariq swallowed. "A doctor. She must have survivors with injuries. Could be civilians? Children?" The thought sent a ripple of resolve through the bridge. Lena straightened. We'll be there in 12 minutes. Prepare for atmospheric entry. And pray our engines hold. Below decks, the surface crews heard the call and donned their suits. In the medical bay, reserves of plasma packs and synthetic blood were loaded. Engineers loaded drones with scanners and micro-drones armed with non-lethal suppression rounds, just in case. But no one believed the raiders would hesitate to kill. 12 minutes later, the Artemis began its plunge into Arvos 9's atmosphere. Red flares of friction glowed on the hull. Lena gripped the arms of her seat as gravity doubled. She thought of the voice on the line trapped, alone, haunted. She could not fail. Outside, lightning cracked across the charcoal sky, illuminating jagged mountains and swirling ash storms. The planet seemed to roar beneath them, a beast reluctant to give up its prey. Lena whispered, "Hold together, old girl," and watched as the world grew larger on the view screen. Somewhere down there, the cry for help waited, and Earth would unleash hell to answer it. Asterisk. The Artemis shuddered as it pierced Arvos 9's atmosphere. Captain Lena Reyes gripped the armrests, feeling the rising heat pressing against the hull. Outside the viewport, ash-laden clouds churned in violent swirls, lit by jagged streaks of crimson lightning. Below, a fractured landscape of black rock and icy crevasses unfolded like a shattered puzzle. Atmospheric shields at 20%, called engineer Tariq Singh. Hull integrity holding, but we won't last long at this rate. Lena nodded. Understood. Keep them up. Mark, start scanning for a safe drop zone. Lieutenant Mark Hawley tapped his console. The holomap pulsed with data. Radiation pockets, pressure spikes, electromagnetic disturbances. He overlaid the distress beacon signal, which glowed like a beacon of hope amidst the chaos. There, he said, pointing. A relatively clear valley about 40 clicks southwest. Signal strength spikes there. Must be Dr. Morin's location. Lena studied the readouts. That valley is close to the old medical complex ruins. If she survived there, that must be where she's holed up. Agreed, Mark replied. But the pressure differential is extreme. We'll need drop suits and drones on the ground fast. Send the ground teams, Lena ordered. Juno. Maintain the link. I want every word we hear. Communications Officer Juno Park's fingers flew. The distorted voice of Dr. Harlan Morin crackled through. Evac in 60. Hostiles closing. Static swallowed her words. She's on a timer, Juno muttered. We need to move now. Lena pressed her lips together. Tariq, deploy. The atmospheric assault pod. Mark, coordinate the drop. Everyone else, prepare to engage on site. Moments later, beneath the stormy sky, the Artemis released a sleek drop pod. Its thrusters flared, cutting through ash as it descended toward the valley floor. Lena and her squad, 2 Marines in reinforced suits, were strapped into pod seats. Dust and debris rattled the cabin as the craft dove inside. Lena checked. Her suit status. Oxygen nominal, pressure stable, exterior cameras transmitting. She glanced at her 2 Marines, Sergeant Ortiz and Corporal Miles, faces set in grim determination. We've got one shot, she said softly. Keep it tight. Outside, the pod's hull turned a dull red under the planet's turbulent sky. The valley floor rushed up. Lena braced herself as the pod slammed down in a cloud of ash. Alarms blared, indicating a roughly hard landing but no breach. Drop pod down, said Tariq's voice over comlink. Ground teams moving in by drone, ETA 2 minutes. Lena released her harness and stood. Ortiz followed by Miles. They stepped into the swirling ash, rifles raised. The air tasted foul, like burning iron. Every breath stung. They moved toward the ruins of the medical complex. Its walls collapsed. Corridors opened to the sky. Juno's voice crackled in their helmets. I have a clearer feed from Drone Alpha. I'm seeing movement hostiles, armed. They have Morin in a makeshift cage near the central dome. Lena crouched behind a broken wall fragment. Through her HUD, She saw silhouettes, 5 raiders in heavy armor, rifles trained on a small, hunched figure inside a metal cage. Sparks flew as one raider jabbed a gun butt into Dr. Morin's back. "ETA drones?" Lena asked. 30 seconds, replied Tariq. "They're on approach vectors, be ready." Lena exhaled. "On my mark." 3, 2, 1. Suddenly, a deafening boom rocked the ruins. One raider stumbled, his armor plate splitting under an explosive drone strike. Alpha drone had fired its suppression charge. Concrete dust exploded around the group, throwing them off balance. "Engage," Lena ordered Ortiz, and Miles sprinted forward, rifles firing stun rounds. The raiders scrambled for cover, shouting. Lena burst from behind her wall, pistol raised, and aimed at the nearest target. A stun round cracked into his shoulder. He howled and dropped his weapon. Inside the cage, Dr. Morin looked up. Her face was pale but fierce. "You came," she gasped. Lena nodded. "You're safe now. We'll get you home." One raider, bleeding but angry, raised a rifle. Miles rolled left and fired, hitting his knee. The man collapsed in a spray of sparks. Ortiz bounded forward, kicking the cage lock open. "Move," she shouted, releasing Morin. The doctor stumbled out, supported by Lena's steady arm. She wore a tattered lab coat over a scorched uniform. Her eyes gleamed with relief and pain. "Thank you," she whispered behind them. The last raider attempted to flee. Lena took aim, hesitated, then fired a disabling shot that shattered his engine pack. He hit the ground in a blaze of sparks. 0 hostiles, Ortiz reported. Lena surveyed the battlefield. Dust swirled, settling on shattered drones and discarded weapons. The ruined complex stood silent once more. She activated her comms. Artemis ground teams secured the target. Morin in custody, awaiting extraction. Engineer Tariq's voice came back. "Copy that. Pod will lift in 2 minutes. Storm intensifying, be ready for heavy turbulence." Lena helped Morin toward a hover stretcher deployed by the medics. The doctor winced with each step. Miles checked the cage for clues, data drives, samples, anything of value. He bagged them carefully. Lena looked at the horizon. The storm glowed with flashes of lightning, ready to tear the ground apart. Somewhere beyond the ruins, more dangers lurked. Predators, acid rains, power surges. But for now, they had their goal. She touched Morin's shoulder. "We're not leaving without everyone," she promised. "If there are more survivors, we'll find them." Dr. Morin managed a faint smile. "There are a handful hiding in the tunnels." Lena straightened. A new mission had formed. The valley floor, once a tomb, still held hope. And Earth's finest would scour every crag and crevice, until every last voice was found. Asterisk, a low drone of rotors, filled the valley as the assault pod lifted off. Captain Lena Reyes watched its flare fade into the ash-choked sky before turning back to Dr. Harlan Morin. The doctor leaned heavily on a makeshift stretcher, her boots dragging in the snow like grit. Around them, Marines and medics prepared to search the shattered complex for the rest of the survivors. "Follow me," Morin whispered, voice hoarse. She pointed toward a collapsed archway at the rear of the dome. "The tunnels are beneath here." Lena crouched beside her. "How? Many are left?" 8, Morin said, including children. "They're scared and wounded." Lena's jaw tightened. "We move now." Ortiz, Miles, cover R6. Juno, keep comms open. Tariq, have the evac shuttle circle low. "We may need an emergency." "Pick up." "Acknowledged," responded Engineer Tariq Singh over the comm link. His voice crackled through Lena's helmet speakers. Steady despite the storm, Marine Sergeant Ortiz signaled the team forward. They edged toward the archway, weapons raised. The air grew colder as they passed under the crumbling stone entrance. Inside, the wind howled like a wounded animal, carrying the scent of damp metal and decay. Juno's drone light cut through the darkness, revealing broken pipes and shattered panels. The tunnels were part of the old research facility built to house biolabs and medical wards. Now they lay in ruin, half buried under rock and ash. Stay close, Lena ordered. She led the way, her boots echoing on the metal grating. Her mind raced. Enemy reinforcements, unstable terrain, time running out. But above all, the cries of the SOS still pulsed in her memory, a human voice that refused to die. They followed, Morin down a sloping corridor. The doctor paused at a junction marked by faded signs. Lab B gives. Storage. She pointed left. The children and patients are in the old hydroponics bay. We barricaded the door there. Ortiz pressed her back against the wall. Gold team with me. Miles, point the drone ahead. Lena, you and Morin watch for traps. Miles guided the drone forward. Its infrared scanner glowed red on Lena's HUD. Heat signatures flickered beyond a sealed door. A soft whimper echoed in the darkness. They're in there, Lena said. She drew her sidearm. Beneath her suit, her heart thundered. Mercy missions were never simple. Ortiz and Miles moved to the door. The steel was bent and scorched. Miles placed a small breaching charge on the lock mechanism. Lena backed up and raised her weapon as sparks flew. With a sharp hiss, the door collapsed inward. Flashlight beams revealed 6 pale figures huddled. On the floor, 2 men, 2 women, and 2 children wrapped in blankets. Their eyes were wide with fear. One, clutching a small boy, sobbed quietly. The boy stared at the soldiers with a mix of relief and terror. Dr. Morin, one woman hissed. She scrambled to her feet. You came back? Morin stepped forward, tears shining in her eyes. We're here to help. You're safe now. A man rose slowly, leaning on a blood-stained beam for support. We heard the explosions. Thought we were lost. Lena holstered her sidearm and crouched near the group. Let's get you out. Miles, set up the stretcher. Ortiz, check for weapons or traps. The Marine squad swept the area. They found no hostiles, only a few empty cartridges and bloodstains. The survivors clustered around Morin as medics rushed in to tend to wounds. Lena scanned the corridor behind them. The dim light revealed another passage branching deeper into the facility. She approached the map display on the wall, dusted it off, and traced the lines. There's another exit here, she said. If we head that way, we can reach a clear zone near the shuttle landing site. One of the men, his arm in a sling, looked at her. We tried that path, but it's blocked by cave-ins and acid leaks. Morin nodded. Yes, we sealed that route after the raiders breached the secondary doors. We thought it safer to hold here. Lena tapped her comm. Tariq, we have survivors. We need egress support at the east crater. Terrain is rough, expect acid vents and loose rock. Can you clear a path with drones? A pause crackled through the comm. Then Tariq's voice. I'll launch the terrain scouring drones. Ada, 4 minutes. I'll also prepare a remote-controlled hover crane to clear debris. Copy, Lena said. She turned to the survivors. Stay close. Keep low. We'll get you out before those raiders come back. The group moved as one through the tunnel, flashlights bobbing in the gloom. Lena walked at the rear, covering their backs. She felt the weight of command. Each breath she took, each step she planned, meant life or death for these people. Suddenly, a distant rumble rolled through the tunnel, a deep, metallic growl. The group froze. Drip, drip, drip. A liquid sizzled on the floor. Acid leak, Miles muttered. We need to hurry. Lena nodded and motioned forward. They pressed on, following the map's path. The air grew thick with steam and the acrid stench of burning metal. The drone scanner beeped warnings, rising toxicity and heat spikes. Ahead, they saw the tunnel mouth, a tear in the rock letting in pale daylight. Acid rain dripped from jagged edges above. Beyond lay the crater plain, where terrain scouring drones carved a path between bubbling vents. Lena stepped outside and inhaled the thin, cold air. The survivors passed through, assisted by medics. She paused at the threshold, scanning for threats. The storm overhead roared and ash rained like soot. But through the haze, She saw the hover crane lifting fallen beams, making way for the shuttle. Then a sharp crack echoed. A boulder the size of a car plummeted from the tunnel roof, shattering near her feet. She leapt aside, drawing her weapon. Miles shouted, "Rockfall unstable." Ortiz yelled, "Move." Lena grabbed Morin's arm. "This way now." They ran across the crater, survivors and medics following. Behind them, drones exploded rock dust and controlled blasts. Clearing a safe corridor as they neared the shuttle pad, Morin looked back at the smoking tunnels. "Thank you, all of you." Lena offered a firm nod. "We're not done until everyone's safe." Above them, Earth's response glowed in the sky shells of ion bursts on the horizon, warning any raiders that Earth would not yield. And as the shuttle's engines ignited, Lena vowed, no voice for help would ever go unanswered. Asterisk. The shuttle's engines flared as it lifted off the crater floor, carrying the wounded survivors toward the safer zone at the edge of the valley. Captain Lena Reyes stood on the pad, watching the craft rise through the ash-filled air. Her suits. HUD tracked the craft until it disappeared into the storm above. "Everyone accounted for?" She called into her comm. 10 survivors, 5 medics, 2 drones. Sergeant Ortiz replied. "Pod is clear." Lena exhaled, but relief was short-lived. The shuttle's comm buzzed urgently. "Captain, we have hostiles inbound," Engineer Tariq Singh alerted. "Signature matches heavy assault units, likely the raider gang that held Morin." Lena's eyes narrowed. "How long?" Tariq checked his console. 5 minutes at full burn. "They're dropping in via stealth transport." A chill ran down Lena's spine. The valley's twisted rock would give the raiders cover. If they waited until stalking behind the shuttle, many would die. She needed a plan and fast. "Mark," Lena said, turning to Lieutenant Mark Hawley, who had just arrived with Communications Officer Juno Park. "What intel do we have on raider numbers and gear?" Mark tapped his datapad. "Roughly 20 raiders, all armed with plasma rifles and light shields. Their transport will drop them on the western ridge, then head back out." Lena paced. "The ridge overlooks the pad. If they get up there, they can rain fire on the shuttle and our teams. We need to draw them away or hit them before they organize." Juno spoke up. "Our drones can't reach that high, but we still have 2 heavy gun drones. They could lay down suppressive fire if we lure the raiders to the ruins' main dome." Lena nodded. "Good. Tariq, deploy the heavy drones at the dome entrance. Mark, you and Ortiz lead a decoy team through the tunnels back to the dome. We'll bait them there. Miles and Juno, you take the medics and survivors to the shuttle zone. Keep them safe." "All teams ready," they replied. Lena looked at Dr. Morin, who sat in a med bay tent nearby. The doctor's arm was bandaged, as she was weak from the long days underground. Morin's eyes met Lena's. "I want to help," she whispered. "I know the tunnels better than anyone." Lena hesitated, then nodded. "Stay with the medics for now. We'll need you later." Morin gave a weak smile of understanding. Lena gathered her gear. The wind howled, but through the noise she heard the distant hum of the stealth transport engines. Time was slipping away. A few minutes later, Lena, Mark, and Ortiz moved through the narrow tunnels, footsteps echoing in the hollow corridors. Juno's drones hovered overhead, their searchlights cutting swaths through the darkness. Mark glanced at his readings. "They're about 2 minutes out. Should hit the western ridge soon." Ortiz cocked her rifle. "I don't like it. They'll have gravity in their favor up there, unless we take the high ground first." Lena slowed. "Exactly. We'll flank them from above." She pointed to a maintenance hatch in the tunnel ceiling. "This leads to the roof of the dome. We can get on top, drop down to the ridge side, and set our drones to ambush." Mark pressed his lips together. "Risky. The hatch might be unstable." Lena's expression was firm. "It's the only shot. We do it fast and quiet." She tapped her comm. "Tariq, prepare the heavy gun drones at dome entrance, but don't activate until I give the signal." "Aye, Captain," he replied. They reached the hatch. Ortiz pried it open, and Lena scaled a small ladder. Cold ash fell around her, as she climbed into the tunnel's ventilation shaft. Mark and Ortiz followed Dot above. The shaft opened onto the dome's weathered roof. Lena slid out, wiping grit from her visor. The world spread around her. A jagged ridge, the crater below, the swirling storm above. Lightning flashed, illuminating the valley in brief white glare. Asterisk, they're here, Ortiz whispered, pointing. 3 transport pods descended toward the ridge. Figures in dark armor dropped out, landing with silent grace before sprinting toward the dome and shuttle zones. Lena knelt. Mark, drop the ambush drones from here. Ortiz, cover me. Mark tapped his console and released 2 micro-drones. They darted toward the ridge, blending with the ash storm. On Lena's HUD, their positions glowed red. Drone set, Mark confirmed. Lena climbed over the roof's edge and dropped to the ridge. Ortiz and Mark followed. Ash met their boots, giving way under weight. They crouched behind a boulder, sighting down at the raiders moving along the ridge. On my mark, Lena breathed. 3, 2, 1 now. Mark opened fire with his rifle, plasma bolts streaking through the gloom. Ortiz unleashed a burst of suppressive fire. The raiders dropped, diving for cover. Lena tapped her console. Activate drones. Moments later, the micro-drones erupted with bright flashes, releasing sonic pulse charges that disoriented the raiders. They staggered, helmets ringing, shields flickering. Below, the heavy gun drones at the dome entrance roared to life, firing tracer bolts into a group of raiders attempting to circle around. The battlefield lit up with flashes of fire and ash. Lena pressed forward, rifle supporting Ortiz. Mark advanced on the left flank. The raiders recovered, returning fire. Plasma bolts sizzled around, carving marks into the ridge's rocky outcrops. Lena spotted the raider leader. Tall figure with a jagged armor, crest barking orders. She raised her rifle, took careful aim, and fired a precise shot at his rifle pack. The man collapsed in sparks. A surge of anger hit the remaining raiders. They charged down the slope toward Lena's team. But she was ready. Ortiz and Mark flanked them, rifles spitting plasma. The heavy drones cut off their retreat. Within moments, the raider force lay defeated, some stunned, some disarmed, and a few unconscious. Lena approached the leader, who struggled to sit up. "This is what happens when you violate a distress signal," she said coldly. "Earth answers with hellfire." She cuffed him. "Secure them and send pictures to Earth Command." Ortiz surveyed the scene. "Ridge is clear. Shuttle zone is safe." Lena nodded and tapped her comm. "Miles, Juno, return here with the survivors. We'll extract the prisoners and head home." As they waited, Lena gazed across the valley. The storm still raged, but a sense of calm lingered over the ridge. Earth's will had been shown in full-force distress calls would always be met. And under Captain Reyes' command, none would go unanswered. Asterisk. The survivors and prisoners assembled at the shuttle pad, their faces a mix of relief and horror. Dr. Morin gave Lena a tired but grateful look as she helped the last injured woman onto the hover stretcher. The shuttle's engines rumbled overhead, ready for liftoff. "Everyone aboard," Lena ordered. Ortiz and Miles guided the survivors into the cabin, while Juno secured the raider prisoners in energy cuffs. The shuttle's hatch closed with a hiss, and the craft ascended into the ashen sky. Lena paused on the pad, listening to Tariq's voice crackle through comms. "Captain, Artemis inbound for extraction. You'll rendezvous at the surface relay? Point in 10 minutes." The relay was an old satellite beacon converted into a safe drop zone just beyond the acid vents. "Understood," Lena replied. She activated her wrist console and called down to the medics. "Secure the perimeter. Watch for stray raiders. We still have prisoners to escort." Below, Ortiz set up a temporary perimeter with drone turrets, their sensors blinking red. Miles moved the stretcher to a secure medical tent. Dr. Morin leaned heavily on the medic as she surveyed the battered crew. As the minutes ticked by, the sky grew darker with swirling ash. Lena scanned the horizon. No ships were visible yet. Then, through the gloom, a distant glow appeared, faint points of light that grew brighter in seconds. Eyes on targets, Juno announced, multiple ships dropping out of cloak. Earth Strike Group Omega is here. Lena's heart pounded. She tapped her console. The hollow display projected a dozen warships in formation, their hulls bristling with weapons. They hovered above the northern ridge and then aligned into firing positions. Brace yourselves, Juno warned. Weapons. Charging. Moments later, streaks of blue-white energy lanced from the ships, arcing toward the ground where a cluster of ramshackle raider encampments lay hidden in a rocky basin. The beams hit with thunderous impact, turning crude shelters into molten craters. Explosions rippled through the vents, kicking up clouds of ash and steam. Lena watched in awe and dread. The raiders' stronghold was obliterated in seconds, leaving only smoldering ruin. Survivors stumbled out from the fallout, blinded and shaken. Some fell to their knees, faces scorched by the blast. Hellfire, Ortiz whispered beside her. They warned us it would be extreme force. Lena's gaze hardened. The full might of Earth's response was on display, no mercy for those who attacked a distress signal. She tapped her comb. Tariq, confirm all hostiles neutralized. Negative targets, he replied. Sweep drones show no active signatures. The area is clear. Understood, Lena said. She turned to Dr. Morin, who stood beside her, eyes wide. You saw it? Lena said softly. No raider will threaten human lives again. Morin nodded, voice trembling. You saved us. And destroyed their base in one strike? Lena offered a firm nod. Distress calls will never go unanswered. The galaxy will know that Earth means what it says. Behind them, the shuttle landed with a soft thrum, and survivors emerged, faces wet with tears. Ortiz and Miles helped them board the shuttle again for final evac. Juno keyed her mic. Everyone clear? Shuttle loaded. Clear, Lena confirmed. She gave one last look at the ruined basin and warped horizon. Then she strode toward the relay beacon, where a small transport skiff hovered, ready to carry her and the raider prisoners back to the Artemis. Inside the skiff, Mark and Ortiz secured the prisoners. Lena settled into her seat next to Juno. The skiff lifted, weaving through pockets of acid rain toward the awaiting ship. As they approached, the Artemis glowed like a guardian angel against the storm. Its boarding ramp lowered, and the skiff docked safely. Lena led the survivors inside, where medical crews rushed forward with supplies and blankets. In the command deck, she faced Captain Rios, the Artemis's executive officer. He surveyed the rescued colonists, the injured, and the silent raiders, guarded by Ortiz. Status report, Rios said. Lena straightened. All survivors accounted for 10 colonists, including 2 children, plus Dr. Morin. Raiders neutralized and in custody. Extraction complete. Rios nodded, relief and respect in his eyes. Well done, Captain. Earth Command will debrief them and you may have set a new standard for rescue operations. Lena allowed herself a brief smile. Earth sent. Used to save lives. We did that and sent a message no one can ignore. Rios looked toward the viewport, where the remnants of the bombardment still glowed on the surface. Then Earth's hellfire answered every cry. Lena turned away from the window, knowing that the evacuation was only the beginning. After the debrief, the Artemis would press on with the mission to find any remaining distress signals and to ensure that no human voice across the void ever went unheard again. Next stop, home in a galaxy reshaped by the promise of Earth's wrathful mercy. ** 2 days later. The Artemis drifted in geosynchronous orbit above Earth. Captain Lena Reyes stood in the debrief chamber, flanked by Dr. Harlan Morin and Lieutenant Mark Hawley. Across the table sat Admiral Chenovic, his uniform crisp and his expression unreadable. Captain Reyes, the Admiral began, voice steady. Your rescue operation on Arvos 9 exceeded expectations. You saved 10 colonists and neutralized a dangerous raider cell. Earth Command sends its gratitude. Lena inclined her head. Thank you, Admiral. The survivors are stable and medical. Reports show their wounds are healing. Dr. Morin added softly. Without her leadership, many wouldn't be alive. She gestured toward Lena with deep respect. The Admiral turned to Morin. Doctor, your actions were equally heroic. You maintained hope and led the survivors underground for over a week. We owe you as well. Morin bowed her head. I only did what I could to keep them safe. Admiral Chenovic tapped the panel, and a hollow display lit up, showing images from the raid. The destroyed raider base, the evacuation site, and Earth's fleet striking the enemy lair. Bright beams cut through the storm, leaving nothing behind but molten rock. Lena watched the display. The footage was powerful proof that Earth would not tolerate attacks on its citizens. She recalled the roar of the bombardment, the flash of iron fire, the shell shock on the raider prisoners' faces. Earth's response was swift, the Admiral continued. Our enemies saw our hellfire firsthand. Reports indicate no further raider activity in that sector. Mark cleared his throat. Admiral, the prisoners we captured, what will become of them? The Admiral's gaze was firm. They will face tribunal for crimes against humanity. Their assets and networks will be dismantled. We intend to make an example, Lena nodded. Justice should follow mercy. The Admiral then addressed Lena directly. Captain Reyes, Command would like to formalize your tactics into standard rescue protocol. Your use of drones combined with ground teams and integration of heavy strike support, these methods will shape future operations. Lena clasped her hands behind her back. I'm honored. If these tactics save lives, I support their adoption. Admiral Chenovic allowed a faint smile. Very well. You lead the next training exercise for command officers. And Dr. Morin, you will consult on survivability strategies for remote colonies. Morin's eyes widened. I would be happy to help. After the debrief, Lena walked the ship's corridor toward the bridge. Mark joined her. The hall's lights reflected off polished floors. You did great in there, Mark said quietly. You and Juno orchestrated a perfect drone strike. Lena shrugged. The credit goes to the whole crew and to Earth Command for trusting us. They entered the bridge. Outside, Earth's blue curve shone against black space. Communications officer Juno Park waved them over. Captain, we're picking up multiple new distress beacons in the Rim territories. Faint signals, low priority, but spread out. Lena studied the console. How many? 7 distinct signals? Across 3 planets. All within 2 weeks. They matched the pattern of abandoned colonies. Lena's jaw set. Plot a course. We're going back out. Mark looked surprised. Already? Lena nodded. Those people called for help. We can't let these signals go unanswered, no matter how faint. Juno tapped a few commands. Course laid in. Ada to first planet. 4 days. Dr. Morin approached from the medical bay door. She held a data pad. Captain, I've analyzed the SOS patterns. I can prepare survival kits in portable field hospitals for the next mission. Lena smiled. Perfect timing. Load them into the drone bays. Morin's face brightened. I'll get right on it. As the crew prepared, Lena stood at the viewport. The blue marble of Earth felt like both cradle and shield, a home that responded to every cry. Her mind revisited the voices on Arvos 9, the gratitude in their eyes, the knowledge that Earth's wrath had saved them. Sergeant Ortiz appeared beside her. Captain, the raider prisoners have been transferred to the detention ship. Our legal team will handle them. Lena nodded. Good. Ensure the logs and evidence are complete. We want no mistakes. Ortiz saluted. Yes, Captain. Lena placed a hand on the window. Below, the continents drifted by as the planet rotated. The future of humanity lay in those blue oceans and green lands safe because Earth answered every call. Asterisk. She turned to face her crew, determination shining in her eyes. All right, everyone prepare for departure. Next stop, those lost worlds, one toast at a time. The bridge crew sprang into action. The Artemis's engines ignited, and in moments, the ship slid away from orbit, heading toward the Rim territories. The galaxy beyond awaited. But Earth's pledge remained steadfast. No distress echo would ever fade unanswered. Asterisk 4 days later. The Artemis emerged from hyperspace above Skira 3, the first of the planets still sending faint SOS signals. The barren world lay half-shadowed, its surface laced with deep canyons and pale deserts. Captain Lena Reyes stood on the bridge, flanked by Lieutenant Mark Hawley and Dr. Harlan Morin, watching as planetary scanners painted a ghostly map of the landscape below. Signal strength is low, but consistent, Juno Park reported. Origin. Point marks an old mining outpost at the edge of the central crater. Lena nodded. Prepare a recon drone drop. Tariq, I want terrain and life signs scanned. We don't know what waits for us there. Engineer Tariq Singh tapped commands. Drones away in 30 seconds. Outside, 2 sleek scout drones ejected into the void, thrusters flaring bright. Through the viewport, their paths curved toward the planet like shooting stars. Lena felt the familiar thrill, another call for help, another chance to prove Earth's promise. Moments later, images flickered on the holoscreen. Half-buried buildings, rusted machinery, and scattered debris. No life signs yet. Then, near a collapsed mine shaft, thermal readings glowed. 7 weak signatures huddled together. People, Mark said quietly. They're alive. Lena's heart lifted. Deck teams, gear up for descent. We go in with drop suits and medkits. No delays. On the ground, the drop pod slammed onto the dusty plains of Skira 3. Lena and her team emerged in heavy suits, their boots sinking into fine red sand. Acidic winds whipped around them, stinging exposed surfaces. The heat from the planet's twin suns beat down relentlessly. Sergeant Ortiz scanned the horizon. No raiders this time. But the heat will kill them soon if we don't move. Doctor. Morin stood next to Lena, clutching her field kit. The survivors must be weak. The signal fades every few minutes. Lena agreed. Let's go. She led the way toward the outpost ruins, where metal walls were warped by years of neglect. The team swept the area, weapons ready, eyes sharp for ambush through broken archways and twisted beams. They found the mining barracks. Inside, 7 figures lay on the floor miners and their families, gaunt and dusty. A child coughed weakly, blood staining his shirt. Medics, Lena called. 2 field medics rushed forward, administering fluids and checking vitals. Dr. Morin knelt by the child, placing a cooling pack on his fevered brow. The others stirred as they saw soldiers in full battle gear. One man, eyes sunken, whispered, "We thought Earth forgot us." Lena knelt beside him. "Earth never forgets. We're here now, you're safe." Outside, Juno's voice crackled through combs. "Captain, new signals detected 200 clicks north. Another group, probably runaway colonists." Lena exchanged a glance with Morin. "More people good. But first, get these 7 to the shuttle. Ortiz, Miles escort them. I'll lead the next search party." "Aye, Captain," Ortiz said, helping survivors toward the Med Eva CS. Lena and a smaller unit set off across the dune sea. Red sand shifted beneath every step, and the sun's glare turned the broken machines into dark silhouettes. Still, Lena pressed forward, guided by the holomap pinpointing the new distress beacon. After an hour's trek, faint calls echoed from a rocky ridge. Behind a rusted extractor drill, 5 figures crouched, shielding themselves from the wind. They looked relieved, even in their exhaustion. It tapped in Reyes. One man called, relief in his voice. "Thank God you came." Lena approached with open palms. "We're here to bring you home." She gestured to her team. Medics and transport are on their way. As they waited for the pain meds to arrive, Lena took a moment to speak with the group. A woman with silver-gray hair explained how the mining company abandoned the colony after profits dried up. They'd survived on scraps, signaling Earth in desperation. Dr. Morin listened, eyes full of sorrow. "You should have been rescued months ago," she said softly, "but now we'll get you safe." Lena checked her wrist console. "AVAC is en route. ETA 10 minutes. She turned back to the ridge. "I'll stay until the last transport lifts. Then we head home." Homebound back on the Artemis, The bridge crew monitored the final transports loading survivors and medevacs. Captain Reyes watched from the viewport as the last pod disappeared into space. Carrying weary faces and hopeful hearts, Dr. Morin joined her. "You did it again," she said, voice filled with awe. 17 lives saved today. Lena allowed herself a weary smile. "It's what we do." She looked at the medical reports scrolling on the console. All survivors stable, none critically injured. Earth's hellfire is meant for enemies, not for those who cry out for help. Lieutenant Hawley approached. "Captain, Admiral Chenovic sent a message. He said your actions have inspired a fleet-wide directive. All rescue missions. Get priority, even in hostile zones." Lena nodded. "Then every distress beacon, no matter how faint, will bring Earth's answer. We'll keep that promise." She turned to her crew. "Plot course for Earth orbit. We have debriefing, but first all done. Everyone. You brought hope where there was none." As the Artemis's engines ignited, Lena felt the world shift beneath her feet. Blue light faded behind her, replaced by the infinite blackness of space. Yet every star she passed reminded her. Earth's voice would echo across the void, no more silent cries. No more unanswered SOS humanity had spoken, and the galaxy knew its voice was unstoppable. Asterisk.